Good afternoon, Coronation. Hey, it's Kendra Cook here at the headquarters, and as you know, 2022, we are doing our Women in Business series. The women behind the man, Rick Ruby. And so today I have a very special guest. Many of you may not know all about this person, but you will by the time we're done. So I want to welcome Miss Lindsay Sparks today.
Hey, thanks, Kendra. Thank you so much.
So excited to have you. So we're going to put Lindsay on the hot seat today and learn a little bit about her. But most importantly, she has a very, very important job here. She leads our Level 3 Concierge department, which means that she teaches our students how to cater to their clients because she and her team cater to you. So if you're a Level 3 agent or lender watching this, you know what that looks like. But if you're Level 2 or Level 1, you haven't got to 3 yet, you haven't met Lindsay. So Lindsay's going to tell us what her job consists of, what they do, and what that looks like to get us started. So Lindsay, take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. So, okay, so what we do in the Level 3 Concierge department is basically create and deliver a great client experience. That's what our whole focus is. And the purpose of doing that is to retain Level 3 clients. So that's what it's all about. We want to make sure that the Level 3 student is happy, that they're getting results, that they're loving their experience with coaching. And obviously the coaches do a lot of the heavy lifting on the retention. But we want to come alongside them and partner with them to see what pieces we can do and help along the process. So some of that looks like tracking all the students' goals, where they want to be, and then where they are along the way, so that we can be looking for red flags like, hey, this person's falling behind or hasn't turned in their homework a couple times or whatever that is, so that we could be the coach's eyes and ears. Because as you guys know, all of our coaches, part of what makes them so amazing is they are top producers in the industry. So they're doing coaching because they, love their experience and they want to give back to other people, let other people have that experience they did. So we just kind of figure out what can we do to help them do that coaching. So, catch a red flag here, let them know, hey, this is what's going on with this student. I talk to them and just kind of help come alongside them on that. Some other things are just, so leading the Level 3 team. So I love to lead by example. That's like my go-to leadership
mechanism.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to ask them to do something that I'm not doing as well. So I'm calling clients, I'm doing the tracking, anything I'm asking them to do, I do too. Mostly I work with the coaches that are in training. So if there's a coach that wants to come up to be a Level 3 coach, they practice on Rick's employees.
Okay.
So those become my clients, and then I work with those coaches. And Rick obviously teaches them how to coach, okay? But I'm there to teach them how to do all of the background stuff that goes with it, how to fill out their coaching paperwork, their follow-up, all of that, and just show them what it looks like. Let's see what else. Events. So as you guys got to meet Britt Ruby, she does most of the heavy lifting for the summit events, but our team helps her with executing the summit. So, I'm a really good executor. So I'm not an idea person, right? So if Rick or Britt will say, this is what we want to do, I'll take that to the team, and luckily our Level 3 team is awesome, and we'll hit the ground running and make it happen. And then we have 2 more events a year that we do, the Mega Marathon and the Team Training Summit, which I love that team training event. And Britt has entrusted me to do the heavy lifting on those, so finding, booking the venues and doing all the planning and things that go into that. So leading the team, retaining the clients, having a great experience, pretty much sums it up. Doing morning meetings, so I learned so much from the coaches, so that's really my go-to on that, because I always say I'm in leadership by default. So what that means is I started with the Corps in 2007. I was trained by an awesome chick named Emily, and then eventually we worked together for a couple years, but then she left and moved to Georgia. And Rick and Britt were like, okay, so we can hire someone to replace her, or you can take on her load. You probably have to work more, but you can make more. And at the time, a concierge was selling the CD program.
Oh, wow.
And so the incentive there was, they said, you don't have to do that anymore if you do this. And I was like, I'm in!
How many years ago was that, Lindsay? How long have you been here? Tell us how long.
14 years.
14 years. So 3rd longest running employee, right?
Yeah.
Third longest. One of the things.
Tennille, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things I want to go back. She talked about catering to the client.
Yeah.
I know that everything that we do here is based off of a book. Will you share with them the book that we read about catering to the client and how you guys use that in your team over there?
Yeah. So raving fans.
Yep.
Have to read it. Everyone who comes on the team reads that book. And you know, when I started way back when, the first task that I was to do was call every client and introduce myself. So catering to the client was always at the forefront. And I was really scared to make those calls. Like I said, I don't want to do the sales or anything like that.
Right.
But calling the clients and introduce myself, I'm like, and that's how I ended up in this role forever too, because I love talking to people and, you know, finding out what makes them tick and how we can help them.
Sure.
But I don't want to do the part, like when it transitions to make a sale or close a sale, I don't want to do that part.
Right.
So that's perfect for me. Call everyone and introduce yourself. Awesome. Then at our events, everything is about how can we cater to the clients at the highest level. Rick is really big on signage. So I can't tell you guys how many times I've been yelled at of, there's not enough signs, they're not gonna know where to go.
Right.
So we're always masterminding, like, how can we make this as easy as possible for the client? How do we make it so they have a great experience because they know where to go? Simple things like that we can help them get to the class they wanna go to. And just adding things all the time that make it easier. Another way, you know, in the book it talks about you have to find out what they want, right?
Absolutely.
So we do a lot of surveys.
Yes.
So we do a survey after every event and a survey at the 90-day point of each semester. In level 3, we coach in 6-month semesters. So a lot of how we cater to the client is reading surveys and finding the next thing we can add. Okay, they're not liking this. How can we tweak this? Or they would love to see this added. So just finding the next thing we can tweak or add and then making a process around it and then delivering it.
Love it. So far, gosh, lots of lessons here. If you haven't read Raving Fan with you and your team, time to get that book and get on it. Kim Blanchard, great writer. Number 2 is she talked about having a process. You got to have a process for everything. That's what the core teaches you, systems and structure and processes.
Sure.
So you got to have that. Number 3 is catering to the client by surveying them, finding out what the client wants and exceeding that expectation. So there's 3 homework assignments if you're watching this and you've not done those 3 things, chop chop, let's get going, all right? So thank you for sharing that, Lindsay. So next, a lot of you watching this, because her last name is Sparks, might not know that this is Rick Ruby's daughter. And I know I got the wife first and now I got the daughter. And I do want to be honest and say, Lindsay's like, hey, I'm way more than Rick Ruby's daughter. Just like Britt said, hey, I'm way more than Rick Ruby's wife. And the truth of the matter is she is. She just said, hey, I've been here for 14 years. She earned her spot. She worked her way up. And so I want to talk about that. I mean, 14 years, you've seen a lot of growth.
Yes.
You've seen a lot of changes. But
Yes.
what is it like working with your dad? And the coolest thing is she doesn't call him dad here. His name is Rick, as she's well noticed. And so when I first came here as an employee, full-time, almost 5 years ago, I was like, I'm sure she comes in a room and says, hey, Dad. Oh, no. His name is Rick. So most of you don't know that she's Rick's daughter. So what is it like working with your dad?
Yeah, so it's awesome and it's hard. It's all of it, okay? So one of my favorite things is that I get to see him in action doing what he does best and what he's passionate about. And it makes me so proud that I get to be a part of it. So that is just so awesome. I'm super grateful. He's taught me so many things, and Britt too. How to handle money, how to save, invest, be generous. He's such a good example of being generous. How to be a hard worker. So my whole life that's been a big thing, but then working here it's been even more. You know, how to work hard, how to be a grinder. He expects a lot of me and always is pushing me to grow. I always say, I feel like, you know, his expectations for me is higher than other
everybody
people.
else, yes.
But I wouldn't have it any other way because I never want someone to think I didn't work my butt off to get here. You know,
Right.
I remember way back when in 2007, the core started nestled into Rick's mortgage company. And so it was Tennille, it was Emily, who I said trained me, and we were literally, our 3 desks were in a row in a hallway at the mortgage company. And so that's where we were. That's what the course started, in a hallway. It started before I was there.
Our office is way nicer now.
Started, that's what it was. So we bonded so much in those little desks right there in the hallway, though. But it's really cool that I got to see us, like, when we first got cubicles, like, woo, we got cubicles, baby. And then, we moved to North Carolina and relocated, and our office started in this little brick house. I remember one of the coaches came to visit, and he was like, I've got to be in the wrong place. I was looking for the core. We're like, no, this is the core here. And then getting to see the new office building and the wonderful place we're in now. It's been really cool to be a part of seeing all of that. And the last thing I'll say about working with Mr. Ruby is he also taught me how to speak my mind. So I sometimes wonder if he regrets that because I speak my mind. And so when we disagree on things, which happens, I definitely speak my mind. And so the rule that we have is speak your mind and fight for what you believe in. But then once a decision is made, whether it's by the group or the two of us or whatever it is, then you get on board. So whether it was the thing you're fighting for or not, you get on board. And that's really hard to do sometimes when it's not the thing you were fighting for. But I really appreciate that he gives me that space, and all of us that space.
Absolutely.
To speak your mind and fight for what you believe in.
Yes. And I will say that Lindsay is an extremely confident mom and wife and employee here. And I think a lot of that is because Britt and Rick have empowered her to say, hey, speak up. So if you have a family member working with you, give them permission to fight for what they believe. And like Lindsay said, at the end of the day, we all unify, whether it's our belief or not, that it's the core way and it's the best for the program, whether it's our students or the company. But I think that that's probably why you were so confident and so successful and you lead a team so well, is because they've empowered you to do that. So I know you let your team members do that too. Sometimes they come to you and push back, but we've all got to have a voice. So I think that's a great takeaway. This is probably going to be the hardest question you answer today. Okay. So I'm sure some of you out there that work with a spouse, partner, significant other, child, how do you separate it? You come in here and you grind and he's the boss, and then you go home and it's like, how do you go to Christmas and be like, hey, Dad? I mean, do you talk about the core all the time, or is there a separation? Like, how do you guys work through that?
That's such a good question. So I think you already kind of nailed it. Just that a simple thing is what we call each other. So I call him Rick at work. I'll call him Dad when we're not at work. That's kind of a big deal. When somebody, I don't remember who, gave me the advice to do that when I was first, setting on this venture to work here. And so I told him, is this okay with you? This is what I was planning on doing. And he was like, oh, I don't think I like that. And I was like, okay. Well, he was like, I think you should call me Mr. Ruby. I'm like, okay. Is that what your other employees call you, Mr. Ruby? Well, no. Well, do you think it's going to be kind of weird if I call you that? What do they call you? He's like, they call me Rick. I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'm going to call you too. And that honestly just helps separate it, because when I'm saying, hey, Rick, or talking about him, that keeps me in the work mode. And then when we're at home, I say Dad. And so it's a simple little thing of a name, but that's one thing.
That's huge.
The second thing is we have these personal lunches every couple of months. So we'll go out to lunch and we'll just talk about whatever we want. Sometimes it's work, most of the times it's personal. The idea is that it would be personal. But it's nice that we have those one-on-ones, because honestly, we don't really see each other a whole lot on the day-to-day anyway.
Right.
And then, yes, at Christmas or vacations or anything like that, I mean, we really don't talk about work. It's just family time. And it's nice because you get to see them interact with the kids, and you get to have that more personal time. We were over there on Sunday, and I think maybe one thing with work came up. Oh, because he was trying to butter me up and tell me he was wanting to steal someone from my team.
Yeah. Usually to steal him for my team, so he plots us against each other sometimes.
So, but that was it. It was one little thing. The rest of the day was all, what's going on with you? What's going on with this? What are the kids up to? So
perfect. So keeping it separated.
Yeah.
So you mentioned family and kids.
Yeah.
So tell us about your home life.
Okay.
Something people don't know.
So my husband is Chris. He is pretty up there when it comes to husbands, okay? He is awesome. He will also tell you he's amazing. He has a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
So he's always like, oh, you should tell me more. I'm like, you got it. You tell me enough. But he's a stay-at-home dad, so he has been since our second was born. So we have 2 girls, one is 5 and one's 3. So he's been doing the stay-at-home dad gig for 3 years now, and it's awesome. I mean, he takes care of everything in the house, everything outside. He told me one time his goal is to make it so when I get home from work, the only thing I need to worry about is being mom. That blew me away. I was like, oh my gosh, because I can get a little bit tough to be married to, and I might nitpick this or that. Once he said that, I was like, I have nothing to say. I mean, that's amazing.
Yes.
So he's really awesome. We have a lot of fun together. Our girls are so much fun. I'm loving this stage, I think, more than any other stage so far, but I'd probably say that every time. But they're into dance and tumble, and Logan's doing Girl Scouts, and we're always, playing games, or we're outside a lot. And the girls love to dance like me. So, I mean, we can't, like a movie ends and we all get up and dance with the credits. Yeah, so it's just a lot of fun. When I say that about the stages, there is a stage that's I'm not really a baby person. Is that bad to say? Don't hate me. Okay, so I'm not really good with the baby stage. So when ours were really little, and then having 2 kids, I feel like it was a total shock on me. We had I think, I kind of call them the dark stages. Then it was really hard. And we did counseling and different things like that. This really cool Christian-based marriage weekend. It's called A Weekend to Remember. But through all those things, we just were reminded that it all comes down to love languages. And it's so funny. Like, we learn this stuff here.
Right.
And you hear it and you learn it. But we weren't applying it. So we had to figure out, like, okay, this is actually important. Like, Chris is very affectionate. So if I don't hug and kiss him when I come home, he, feels disrespected, feels unloved. And so, just simple things like that. Coming home and giving the hug and kiss. For me, I like the quality time. And I didn't think I was a words of affirmation person, but I learned through counseling that I actually am.
Okay.
So it was really important to me. So it's just, we had to kind of reset and figure out how to do this and figure out that you've got to fill each other's tanks. And so that was a really important lesson, but I don't want to act like it's all, rainbows and butterflies, because it's been tough, but those love languages and that reminder was really important for us.
Well, life is tough, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that Lindsay and Chris have the same thing that my husband Greg and I had, because my husband was a stay-home dad. And so we relate on that level very much so. So yes, thank God for those men that stay home and support these women.
Yes.
But I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to let you share one thing before we run, or something that these people don't know about you now that they've learned a lot. Not only is she a fabulous director of one of our departments, but she's Rick's daughter. She's a mom. She is the dancing queen. The song was written for this girl. She can work it out and break it down. But tell us one more thing to wrap us up that you would want all of our listeners to know.
Yeah. Well, one thing about me, and just that I love about working here in general, is that everybody practices what they preach. Okay, so when you hear us say, like, we do these goal settings, or we do offsites, or like even right now we're working on vision boards on our team. We do it, and I love that. And I love that everyone wants to pour into each other. So a lot of you probably know Hunter Marquardt, one of our coaches. He gave this brilliant speech at the summit and included a letter he wrote to himself. And so that really impacted me to hear that message. But he also writes these Sunday Thoughts emails, okay? And so he had shared that letter to himself previously, and I'm like, great job, Hunter, this is great. Well, Hunter will not let you off the hook. He won't just be like, oh, thanks, Lindsay, I'm glad you thought it was great. He replies with, do the assignment. And I love that about being around these awesome people, because they'll hold you accountable and they will say, you got to do it.
Right.
So you can't say that was a great tactic, I loved it.
And do nothing with it.
Yes. So I did want to share with you guys my letter to myself, because I think that tells you what you need to know about me.
Awesome.
So here we go. And yes, definitely stolen from Hunter. I love that he was vulnerable enough to read his at the summit, and so inspired me to read.
Perfect.
So, dear me, I know you've been feeling a little weird lately with all the conflicting feedback on leadership, parenting, glass half empty, half full. Seems like it's always an extreme, you're to this or to that. Your mind's been racing and it's got you to feeling a little bit, who am I? Just want you to know I see you and it's okay. You don't have to figure it all out, because here's a couple things you need to know. Number one, who cares what everyone thinks? Seriously, you need to let that stuff go. Your inner critic is loud enough. You don't need to hear all that other stuff too. Number two, secondly, and most importantly, who are you? You, my dear, are a child of God, His daughter, and He delights in you. Do you hear me? He made you perfectly and designed you to fulfill His purpose for you. So when your mind is swirling, please just stop and talk to your Father. He loves you unconditionally, and it's time you start to do that too. You are so blessed. You have two amazing little girls and the most awesome husband. They're growing up so fast, so slow down, be present, and soak up every minute with them. Put the phone down, let loose, and enjoy their company. No, you may not clean the playroom and pretend you're playing. If anyone else does that. Have fun, be present. Do this on date nights too. Ask Chris more questions. Be helpful when you get home. Show him you appreciate him with your actions. At work, lead this team from the heart. Let go of the delusion of pleasing everyone. Quit second guessing. Go with your gut and apologize when you screw up. Show people you care and implement quickly, change often, embrace all the changes and learn as you go. Have fun doing it. This place is so unique and rewarding and you're making an impact. Get outside as often as possible as it brings you so much energy. Breathe the fresh air, take in the beauty around you, and be grateful. You are loved. You are good. You have a heavenly Father who has it all figured out. Trust Him. You just do the next right thing, and girl, do it with joy, and spread that joy to everyone around you. I love you, me.
Oh, I love that. What a way to finish. If that doesn't tell you all of that in a bag of chips, that's who Lindsay is. She is a leader. She's a daughter of our Heavenly Father, but also of Rick Ruby. She has a lovely family. She's highly respected here, and she's full of energy. Obviously, I love her because she, like me, cannot talk without her hands. So that's just part of who we are. But thank you so much for being vulnerable today. She was very nervous about this, and I told her she was going to rock it, and she did. So thanks so much, sister.
Yes.
Women in Business, segment number 2, Rockstar Lindsay Sparks. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.